Hi, I'm Brad Hunter, family law lawyer and mediator, and I just want to talk to you today about how to have a successful mediation experience, how you have a successful mediation case. So these are guidelines for a successful mediation experience that I'd like to walk through with you. Now, the first thing by way of introduction is that mediation is a valuable tool that'll help you resolve conflicts. It's in the mediation process. For it to be successful, it's important that you follow some guidelines about behavior and how you're going to make the meeting successful. And in this presentation, I'll cover some tips for having a productive and successful mediation meeting. So the first thing is to recognize that this is an emotional process. Even if it's long past from your separation, you and your spouse are going to discuss some of the most important issues in your life, your children, your finances, those kinds of things. And you don't have control yourself over those things. You have to come to an arrangement with your spouse. And it's helpful to acknowledge that this can be an emotional process. It's also important in a meeting to address what is important to you. So make sure that you communicate your needs and your interests. So what is important to you? What are some of the outcomes you're looking for, the questions you need to discuss? And it's also important that you will discuss what you would like to achieve in the mediation from a positive point of view. So we move on to how to communicate effectively, and I may do a number of videos on how do you communicate effectively in a mediation process. But you need to break away from the patterns of communication that haven't been successful in the past. If you're in mediation, you haven't been able to communicate in a way that has resulted in a successful agreement. So it's important to note that what you have been doing in the past might not be working. And if we focus on effective communication during the mediation session, the chances are that you will learn a few things and that you will more effectively inform your spouse what your needs are and what you need out of it, and you'll hear from them the same thing. So one of the important things is to speak one at a time. In online mediations especially, we need to make sure we speak one at a time and avoid interrupting others. There's a few reasons for this. One is interrupting somebody is rude and it's not productive. And you may have been doing this in earlier discussions you had with one another. But also it'll help me as a mediator guide your conversations and ask questions and to clarify concerns. If I can hear what the other one has to say, and I will ask questions to understand it, and you will have an opportunity to speak without interruption yourself. So one at a time is the only way the communication is going to work if it's to be effective. Another important thing is to use I statements and first names. Now, what's an I statement? Well, first things first is to refer to the other individual by their first names, not he or she or the respondent or Mr. or Mrs. or Ms. so-and-so. By using their first names, we maintain an aura of civility, and it also makes both of you feel that this is important and you are being respected, so it works both ways. And then you use I statements to focus on what's important to you. So quite often people in discussions will go, you did this, or you think this, or you do that. You never know if you have it right. Talk about how you want things to be. So it's, I would like this, or I feel this way, or those statements that were made cause me to feel this way. So talk about yourself, your own emotions, your own feelings, and your own needs. You have control over that. You don't necessarily have the right answer often about what is motivating your ex. So the other thing is to focus on the future. The goal of mediation is to move you forward and focus on what is important to you and your partner. We often want to talk about the past or battle over what happened or whose fault it is or who's responsible. The other person won't agree if you say they're responsible, and it really doesn't accomplish anything. So whatever the history is, think about where you want to be tomorrow, in 6 months, in a year or 2 years. And don't dwell on the past. I mean, we can't do anything about the past. The past is sometimes important for background, but on a lot of cases, in a lot of situations, the past doesn't have a big effect on what decisions you're going to make, especially around financial issues. It's important that you try to work together and I'll try to facilitate that as a mediator. You both hold the key to a successful settlement. There's no settlement if one of you is involved. So we'll work towards a solution that benefits everyone. And another thing is to focus on the problem, not the person. This goes back to use statements and using the other person in a third-party name, is that we need to focus on what your problem is and the questions that need to be addressed, not the harm the other person may have caused or you feel the other person has caused you. And blaming the other person won't move them any closer to the agreement. So from your perspective, you will benefit if you focus on the problem rather than the individual you're in the meeting with. And in conclusion, by following these guidelines, you'll help ensure your mediation meeting is productive and successful. It will increase our odds of success quite a bit if we keep focused on task and talk about the future. And remember, you're going to need to find a mutually acceptable solution to move forward. So I'm Brad Hunter, mediator, arbitrator, and also a collaborative lawyer. That's my contact information. It will also be below in the description. So I am hoping that I can be of assistance to the two of you in settling your case. Please listen to this once or as many times as you think you need, and I'm hoping we can get to a successful mediation conclusion.